Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Lee Cantor here with another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a very special one because it's a subject that is near and dear to my heart, digital marketing. This is a digital marketing special, and I have with me a special guest co-host, Thomas Harpointner with AIS Media. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, good morning, Lee. Good to be here again.
Anything new in your world at AIS?
Well, this is, we just hit July, and officially that's Christmas in July is when retailers start to plan their holiday shopping season. And sure enough, I checked my mailbox yesterday, got a Neiman Marcus catalog, and in the back I saw Santa Claus. So, a little bit early, but...
Skipping some holidays, right? They're just jumping right to Christmas?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think Christmas is, right around the corner, right? Not that we want to hear that, but...
Now, a lot of your work is with websites or retailers or businesses that are trying to be found, and it's a challenging endeavor, isn't it, for a lot of folks?
Yeah, it is. There's a right way and a wrong way to go about it, and there have been a lot of changes that Google has made in the past year. For the companies that are on top of the game, it presents a big opportunity to be found, to even outrank some of their top competitors. But there's still a lot of businesses that are trying to make sense of it all, and stand out from above all the other noise. Today, more consumers access the internet through mobile devices than they ever have, in the past. So that presents a very unique opportunity and a challenge. Right,
because when you figured out how to get people to find you on your desktop, then they blow up the desktop, and now mobile is the belle of the ball.
Yeah, now they're on their phone, and they have half the bandwidth, and they're twice as impatient.
And half the screen space.
That's right, yeah. And they want everything now. So it's about getting the most important, most relevant information to the very top. Mm-hmm. Figuring out what people really want, what their intent is when they're searching on their mobile device. It's not the same necessarily when they're searching on their desktop PC and they're relaxed. When they're on a mobile device, they want certain things like, store hours, directions, pricing. Is this a reputable company? Should I be going here? So it makes us rethink what information is really important to that customer when they're on the go.
Right, so your strategy on your desktop might be different than the one you would use in a mobile environment.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So you got to kind of rethink everything.
Yeah. Think about the last time you pulled up a company website on your smartphone. What were you looking for? Whether it's a restaurant, a retail store, a law firm, local doctor's office. What do you care about most, when you're making that decision? Mm-hmm. So a little bit different, you have a shorter attention span. So it's about really floating that most relevant information to the very top. And the companies that are doing it correctly and who are properly listed, not only are they getting higher conversions, they're actually getting a lot more traffic because Google is penalizing businesses who don't have their sites properly set up, and penalizing meaning they're just not found, or they're found on page 7, 8, or 9 in Google. And how often do you scroll down that far?
Now, if you were giving advice to a company that is, maybe they have a good presence on their desktop, and then they're saying, more and more people, I guess you can look in your analytics and see more and more people hitting your website from mobile. I'm sure it's dramatic now, right?
Yeah.
So they say, I'm going to make this priority. Well, is there some kind of low-hanging fruit they can do first, or is this something you have to hire a professional?
Yeah, there's some things you can actually do yourself or get done for free. There are a lot of companies that offer free website performance analysis. Our firm's one of them. We don't charge for that. We check to see if the website is Google mobile friendly. Does it at least pass Google's mobile friendly test?
So that's
a good start.
But there's something Google has that'll tell you, right? That is, this is mobile friendly or not.
Oh yeah, if you Google the term Google mobile friendly test, you'll find the test. You type in your website's URL, and within a second or two, it'll tell you you passed or you failed. It's that simple. Now, of course, if you failed, that could be for a number of reasons. It's so the fix may not be that simple, but at least you know whether there's a red or green light.
So now in your business, how much of your time do you spend kind of analyzing your clients' stuff, or is it more educating them on what they have to do, or like where is most of your time spent?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a little bit of both. Our ultimate goal at AIS Media is to help our clients attract more patients or customers. That's what they want. That's the finish line. That's always been the goal. Even back in 1997, before we had Facebook, social media, all this latest technology, that the goal was still to get more business. So the methods have changed. So we always know the end goal is to attract more visitors to a website that convert into new patients or new customers. So what we do for each client is based on what their needs are, where they are today, how big the issue is, how fierce the competition is, what needs to be done. It always starts with an analysis. It always starts with a recommendation and a consultation. And some of our clients are larger organizations and they have in-house marketing staff that can take on some of these responsibilities. And
so you work with them more at a strategic level, and then they implement some of the tactics.
Right. And we may provide oversight and consultation on a monthly basis. Large telcos, they have big staff, but smaller organizations may say, look, we can handle the communication with our clients on Facebook. We don't need somebody to speak for us. We can chat with our clients. But SEO and pay-per-click and analytics, it's a little bit more complicated. It's a little harder to assign that to a staffer. And often that's where we come in, because our folks eat, sleep, and drink that stuff,
So now, who'd you bring with you today?
So today we have a very special guest. He's an amazing client of ours, and in close proximity to our office, right downstairs. So when I invited Dr. Semel, we just had to walk downstairs. So Dr. Jeff Semel, I thought would be very useful to have on the show today, because we've worked with him for a while now, but they're already a very successful and well-known business in Atlanta. So that was a unique situation where, he's not a startup. He's already doing a fantastic job as it is, and we're here to help take his business to the next level.
So, Dr. Semel, what was the pain you were having when you engaged with AIS?
Well, it wasn't that we were in pain. We were looking for better options to grow our business to the next level. And we've always had a presence via the internet. However, we wanted to find another level, whether it's through SEO or keywords, and tracking that. We weren't really good at tracking what we were doing. ASI really laid out a roadmap for us to be able to see what we were doing and to increase our numbers on a daily basis.
So your website's atlantamedicalinstitute.com?
That's correct.
And the services you provide are?
We do anti-aging and weight loss, aesthetics-based as well, hormonal replacement therapy with an emphasis on functional medicine, which is preventative health care.
So now I would imagine these are all pretty competitive keywords.
I would think so. In the marketplace, it's becoming more and more popular.
Crowded, right?
Yes.
And then not only do you have legitimate organizations like yours, but there's probably a ton of scammy organizations that are using similar words too.
I'm not really sure about that, but there's a possibility. I would imagine in any industry there are.
Right? Isn't that one of the challenges that you have to deal with, Thomas?
Well, it's one of the challenges that potential patients deal with, trying to understand who to trust.
Right. Who do you trust?
Because it's not a TV or toaster oven that you can return, so it's a very personal decision that they're making. So reputation is very important.
So now how do you kind of battle against, there's a bunch of people that are selling, not legitimate solutions to these same problems. And this is their life's work, is they're spending a lot of time and energy trying to bubble up to the top of Google.
Yeah. Well, one of the, we consider one of the key factors when a potential patient makes a decision. And the first decision is really whether they should even inquire, right? Should they pick up the phone and call? Should they fill out a form and speak to someone? That's really the first sale. And ironically, today consumers don't trust brands or companies nearly as much as they trust other anonymous people. I mean, consider buying a digital camera, right? People go to Amazon to read ratings and reviews from complete strangers.
Right.
And that can work for you or against you if you have a good or bad camera. And it can a 2-star review on a new digital camera could really hurt a company. So part of the strategy is helping our clients get better ratings and reviews and getting those featured, because at the very, very top of the decision funnel is, should I even bother calling this company or not? And if one organization has hundreds of positive ratings and reviews and the other has 2,
Right.
They're probably not even calling, right? Also, how long an organization has been in business, where they're located, what the practice looks like, taking those pictures, taking that quality content, floating it to the very top, so that they at least inquire, right? That's the first step, because once I've been to the office and it's fantastic, but not everyone's going to have that experience.
Right.
So it's about taking that type of content and floating it to the top so people have an understanding that they're dealing with a legitimate practice. Real doctors, there's a great staff. It's a clean organization. Give them the confidence that they need to make that very first step, because from there on, the staff will take over and most prospects will turn into patients.
Now, how do you create the content in these areas to help him, get to the top of the rankings?
Well, so content's a good point. And when most people think of content, they think of articles or white papers or text, but content today comes in a lot of different formats. If you think of Facebook, Instagram, it's mostly picture centric now. Instagram is owned by Facebook, and once they acquired Instagram, they made their pictures even bigger.
Right.
Posts with pictures get a lot more.
Right. Well,
clicks,
his business seems to lend itself to pictures.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's an area where you can really leverage and take advantage of kind of before and afters and success stories and things like that.
Yeah, and of course in the medical industry, it's you're more sensitive than if it were let's say a car shop,
right.
A repair shop. So you need patient consent, and it takes more of a strategic approach. But in their case, we could look at their existing content, and they have so much. And as Dr. Semel was saying, as we were talking up front, he said, "I've been on the radio many times. We've done a lot of press, we've done a lot of media over the years. So there's a lot of rich content that can be used and repurposed to demonstrate their reputation in the industry."
So, Dr. Semel, what's your objective on kind of a regular basis for your website? Is it just to get more people hitting the website to learn more about you, or is it to get actual patients to come through the door?
Well, I would think that they equate to you. More people coming to the site will be more patients coming through the door. We also had an issue with some reviews from ex-employees that worked in our office, and they're very difficult to get rid of those bad reviews. And we're being helped by Thomas's company, of course, to get those reviews cleaned up. And
right.
It's something that takes time to happen, but sometimes the reviews that you get are not always the truth from some people. And when you look onto the internet, people believe that's the truth when it's really not. And the public sometimes is misled.
Right, because it goes to your earlier point. The person who doesn't know about you doesn't know who to trust. So, if they see a bad review, then that to them has as much legitimacy as a good review. They can't discern which is which. And if somebody has an axe to grind, they have no idea about the backstory.
Right.
Exactly. So if you look on our reviews, if you look at Yelp, Yelp is one place where they're like holding us as, I wouldn't say extortion, but they're holding on to bad reviews where there's hundreds of reviews are not being published, which are good reviews. And for some reason, those are not being published where they have 10 bad ones. So it's not making sense to us, and we're trying to get rid of that. And ASI is pretty much taking care of that with us.
So how do you manage that? Is it just you're relentless and tenacious and you just got to keep going?
Well, part of it is just grunt work, really. It's not necessarily rocket science, but it's a lot of work. And because if you take Yelp and you really read their terms of service and their do's and don'ts, they've changed immensely over the past year. Because they've also been sued by businesses who've been damaged by anonymous and fake reviews. So they've had to take some steps. But then when you look at, let's say, YP.com or even Google, their processes for rating and reviewing companies are very different, so
So each one of those sites has their own kind of idiosyncrasies.
sure, yeah, they've got their own rules because the whole ratings and review industry is relatively
It's
new.
the Wild West.
It is right now. It's like email marketing back in the 1990s.
Sure, we have great reviews on Google,
Mhm.
and to me, Google is more of a site for reviews than maybe per Yelp is, because Yelp is not. They don't really draw the line on what is real and what's not in some of their reviews.
Right, and they
Google
don't.
thinks
They
it's
just want reviews. They don't care if they're
Right.
legitimate or not.
I think they want more of the shock reviews. Negativity is what
Right.
they thrive on.
Yeah. Like if we sat in Dr. Semmel's office right now and I wanted to give him a positive review and I said, the staff is friendly, the office is clean.
Right.
I'm happy that I'm here. Yelp wouldn't accept it.
That wouldn't.
They
make
wouldn't.
the
They
cat-
wouldn't. They wouldn't accept it. They'd say, he's not an avid Yelp reviewer, and he's on site. Therefore, it might be fake. So we're not even going to accept Thomas's review.
Oh,
which-
so they would. So they take into consideration like kind of the geolocation of where you're making the review.
Yeah. So if you're an avid reviewer, say of restaurants and
Right.
businesses,
Aren't
and you
you
have this
reviewing
track
from
record,
the restaurant?
yeah, but if it's your first time, that it could be possible that you just set up a fake profile, right? So they're so paranoid about fake profiles now and fake reviews that they're filtering out a lot of positive reviews, right?
Look at their review.
Is there a site that reviews the review site?
It's true.
Well, just about every industry has them, right? Travel, there's TripAdvisor.
Right.
If
Right.
you retail,
Right.
people go to Amazon. But the main way to really battle these reviews at the end of the day, if you have an amazing reputation as a company and and your website shows that off, your website has your staff, your website has feedback and testimonials and photos, is a potential customer or patient really going to turn to Yelp? Often they do if they're not satisfied with the information they're finding in the first place,
Right.
or they're finding it as they're turning to external sources just as a backup. If you have 100 positive ratings and reviews and testimonials and pictures on your site, and Yelp says, well, this company's only at 3-star, is it really going to prevent that customer from doing business with the organization? Probably not. It may affect their opinion a little bit, but it's not going to completely dissuade them. The website is still the number one place to publish your content because you control that. That's yours. It's like your office.
Right.
So
And it's your rules.
yeah.
Now, how do you generate more? Like, if that's one of your objectives is to kind of battle the review sites, what are some tactics you can do to kind of generate reviews and get kind of the good word out?
Well, the first step is letting customers and patients know that positive ratings and reviews are welcome.
And they're important to, like, because you want to build a relationship with all your patients, right? So you want them to be helping and I'm sure a lot of them want to help if they knew the path to help. Are there things you can do to incent them to review or incent them to, share stuff on social media?
That's the gray area, the incentive part. That's
Right.
what Yelp frowns upon, incenting people with, whether it's chocolate candies or
So that's-
discounts. They don't like.
Right.
Incentives are bad
Right.
when it comes to review sites. So only thing is good service. Like you just do a good
Pretty
job.
much, if you like us, write a review on Yelp. That's
Right.
pretty much what
That's
you can
all
say.
you can
That's-
say, and
that's the end of this. Right.
that's blessed by most review sites, that philosophy.
Right, and we want you to do it at home later,
Not
and,
here.
and not just us review other sites, but yeah.
So you have to create a whole checklist for the patient in order to do this properly. So it seems like this is always changing. There's new social media sites coming on. There's new review sites coming on. How do you stay on top of this, and how do you manage all of this?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are new channels constantly, and the key is to decide which channels make most sense for which type of business. We looked at, for instance, Snapchat's demographic the other day.
Right,
because a
'cause
client
that's
said,
now-
"Hey, is this a good place for us to
Right,
be?"
because there are kids on it.
Yeah, well, you look at the age range and male female ratio and so forth, and you can't be all things to all people, nor can you be number one in every type of channel, or should you be.
Right.
And what makes sense for Dr. Semel's office is probably not going to make sense for, say,
Not
a tire
Snapchat.
shop.
Not Snapchat.
No.
For my anti-aging and Snapchat.
No. Well, they have nice filters, right? So, yeah, you don't even need anti-aging if you have a Snapchat
That's
filter.
right.
Just walk around like that all day.
So now that's probably one of the first conversations you have is you have to kind of figure out what are the channels to play in.
Yeah, what are the channels and what are the internal capabilities?
Mm-hmm.
It's best to do a few things really, really well than spread yourself out too thin and say, hey, we're going to do a little Twitter, we're going to do some Pinterest, we're going to do some Snapchat, we're going to do this, and that. Because it's not just a matter of getting started with something, it's a matter of sustaining it and then being able to measure it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for Dr. Semel's office, would it make sense to have a Snapchat presence? Not as much as, let's say, to have a Pinterest presence,
So Pinterest or Instagram, something more photo oriented?
Well, probably more age demographic oriented, female oriented. If we were to expand the strategy, we'd say, well, let's if you have the resources and if you want to expand your strategy, let's have a look at Pinterest because it's 70-80% female.
Right. So then you're in the ballpark right there.
Yeah. And, there are very strict rules and regulations about, medical content that you can and cannot share. But what patients do on their own is up to them.
Right.
And often they're very, very proud of their progress. If they say, hey, look, I lost 10 pounds in 30 days on this program, and Dr. Semel's staff has been amazing, easy to work with. Often they're very proud to share that on their very own. But to take pictures and post them on Facebook without their consent, you're asking for trouble. If you're a tire shop and you're selling rims, that could be a whole different story.
Right.
Say, hey, this was the car before and after. So you have to know, the do's and don'ts.
So now, so we talked about some of the tactics, some of the areas where you should be doing some digital marketing. How do you, let's talk about the measurement. When you start, do you start with kind of a baseline, this is where we're at, and then we revisit that and we say, okay, these are the kind of the key performance indicators that we're going to be looking at, and we want to see movement in these 2 or 3 areas, and then let's revisit after 30, 60, 90 days.
Yeah, precisely. And I'll let Dr. Semel speak to this a little bit. When he first came in and we sat down, we really wanted to understand his practice. And they do so many things. Unlike a dentist who says, hey, look, I just want more, people in here to get their teeth cleaned who may need some additional work. His organization's a little bit more complex. And
So how did you, Dr. Semel, how did you prioritize what was the, area that you wanted to emphasize?
Well, we look at weight loss because that's probably the one of the largest health problems in the world. 70% of the population is overweight, with 30% of that being obese. So that's most of the target market that we pretty much we go into the marketplace and advertise for. We take those patients that are anywhere from the age of 40 to 60 and try to bring them into the anti-aging part of our clinic, because that's also very important for longevity and moving forward to be disease-free as you age.
So that's kind of the entry point is weight loss?
Correct, for most.
So now, so what were some of the tactics you were using to attract weight loss patients?
Well, recently we've basically been an internet-based marketing company. Prior, we were pretty much radio, TV, print ad, but I found that marketing on the internet was probably the best spot for the, best bang for the buck.
Right.
Right. And so we did that for a few years, and it started to grow our practice as we concentrated just in that area. And then when we wanted to go into more concentrated marketing and get into the SEO and find out where we were going with that and pretty much have analytics towards it, that's when we decided to move in different directions.
So now, so when did AIS get involved?
AIS, now we've been working for about, a year.
Yeah.
And so you went after the weight loss? That was your mission?
Yeah, so we looked at, we said, okay, if there were one type of patient you could attract more of right now, what would that be? And, that's what we identified.
So it was women with weight loss issues? Was that the target?
Not necessarily just women, but, if you take, if you consider how Google works, Google doesn't care about your age or your orientation. I mean, all they look is Google just caters to the user. So we look at the type of keywords that people are typing in, what they're searching for, and the competition that currently ranks at the very top, and the type of content that needs to be created to dislodge the competitors, basically. Also, a big factor is geo targeting. Today Google already tries to geo target your searches. So if you go online and say, okay, local weight loss center, or just weight loss clinic, or weight loss practice, or weight loss programs, Google tries to deliver local results anyway. You don't have to say Atlanta weight loss centers.
Right. Because it's going to figure out where you're at, and that's where it's going to assume that that's where you want the answer.
Yeah, and for patients that need to come into the practice, they're probably not going to drive 100 miles. Let's face it. I mean, they may buy some products, so there may be certain circumstances.
Well, if they're coming to see Dr. Semel,
they do
travel from all over the world.
Right. About all over the world, but at least in the...
but we definitely want to dominate the local.
Right. Well, another thing is when people age, they don't realize that a lot of times the reason why they gain weight is because they have a lack of hormones in their body, or a decreasing in hormones in men, testosterone, and women, estrogen and testosterone. So we uncover these things and find out, because people say to me, well, my diet hasn't changed. I'm still working out 5 days a week, but why am I getting this weight? So we pretty much find out and unlock the reasons why. And it's usually, in most cases, deficient hormones in the body.
Mm-hmm. And so you do that through medical tests, blood tests, things like
Correct.
that?
All different types of tests.
And then from that, then you can kind of diagnose and prescribe what is the appropriate solution.
Correct. And we titrate the medication every few months. You come in to make sure that your blood levels are where they should be, rather than getting too much or too little. This way you're in the right place.
And so you stay in this kind of optimal weight losing area.
Correct.
Through the proper hormone. I guess you're dealing with all of the, as it changes, because as you're making improvements, then you got to kind of tweak the solution, right?
Most definitely. If you went to a urologist or an endocrinologist, they would not treat you the same way hormonally as we do. Mm-hmm. We're all certified by the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. We all pretty much know what is necessary for a patient to be at the optimal levels.
Right. But as you're losing weight, I think that's what some people think, that they just fix this once. But as you're losing weight, then things are changing in your body, right? So you got to adjust the kind of prescription from that point.
Yes. And that's why they come in regularly for blood testing.
That.
Right.
So now, was this a big challenge for your firm at AIS? Because weight loss seems like there's a gazillion searches on that.
There's a lot of competition for that keyword. And if you were to buy that keyword, say on Google pay-per-click, it'd be very expensive. So the first thing we look at is, what would it actually cost to purchase that word? And does it make sense?
So do you know off the top of your head about what that word or that
there are
phrase?
a lot of versions of that word.
Right.
I don't know it off the top of my head, but
is it like $1 or is it like
no? It's going to be a lot more than $1.
Like $100?
If it were $1, I mean, we'd be set. I mean, some of these words will range from $12 to $27 per click. So, and that's not a conversion. That's not a patient. That's just a click. Yeah, that's somebody visiting the page.
And that's something I don't think everybody realizes. This pay-per-click starts adding up, and especially if you're after some competitive keywords. Like I know, what was it? We were looking up the, what was it? The personal injury, those terms.
Oh, yeah.
Those could be $100.
Yeah.
I mean, pay-per-click isn't cheap.
Right. So, the end has to justify the means. If you're a personal injury attorney and a case can earn you, $400,000 or $500,000,
right.
then
So
paying
then they'll spend
$20-$30 a click might be okay.
Right.
But does it make sense? So often when our clients are running pay-per-click programs, the programs have been running and they're paying Google and no one's really monitoring it, and they're paying for a lot of keywords that don't convert. So often we're able to save them money by reducing their spend and actually increasing the conversions just by focusing on better keywords. Also knowing that if a word is going to cost $30 a click, that's fantastic content to build that word around. So if we're talking weight loss clinic, if someone's searching for Dr. Semel, well, Dr. Semel should be found no matter what,
right,
on the paid and the organic side. Because the better you brand yourself and your practice, the more people are going to be searching for you. But often what we tend to find is that, organizations and companies ignore that part and competitors jump right on your own keywords. If we weren't paying attention, a competitor could be writing content about Dr. Semel and getting his patients or his potential patients.
Right, and sending it to their website.
Yeah, because, patients today they're not that technically savvy. One survey showed that about 60-70% of website or internet users today on Google can't distinguish the difference between a free listing and a paid listing. They don't know what's paid, what's free anymore. At the very top of Google, you see the little chicken next to the word that says ad. But
That's
below
a
that,
tip-off.
well, yeah, that's a clue, but people don't, they just scan, they don't pay attention. Then you have listings in the maps section. And Google now limits those to 3. You will only see 3 maps, 3 businesses listed in maps. It used to be 7. But Google's reduced that. But people don't know, are those free? Are those paid?
Right. What are they?
What's organic?
Are
what's
those
not?
free or paid? Or are they paid?
Yeah. So ideally, you want to have a presence in all of those sections, in the map section, in the organic section, ideally in the pay-per-click if it makes sense. But to look at that holistically and put, organize that all into a cohesive strategy that is monitored every month.
Right. And that's an important part. That this, again, isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Right.
You got to be managing this constantly because, like you mentioned earlier, Google's changing their way of doing business probably daily, I would think.
They make about 400 changes to their algorithms every single year. Most of them we'll never really notice, and they're usually a couple big ones.
Well, they are noticeable. And aren't there some stories where some people used to rank highly and then they made some change and all of a sudden they disappear from the...
Oh, yeah. Or they launch a brand new website and suddenly traffic declines 60 to 70% within 30 days because the company that they hired are fantastic artists and designers, but they never took SEO and marketing into consideration. So Google literally on their site states the best time to do SEO or to hire an SEO or to talk about SEO is before and during website design, not after. And it's important to, just circling back to Dr. Semel's practice, a new patient isn't just a one-time patient, right? There's a total lifetime value of that new patient. So that's a very, very important engagement because they may start with weight loss and then become educated as to why they're gaining weight in the first place. It's not really their fault necessarily.
Right.
So that's where social media comes in, to keep those patients engaged so the staff can then continue to interact with them on a
because ultimately
basis.
The best referral is one of their friends or family.
Precisely.
Right? And the more of those you get, then the better it is for everybody.
Well, we've built our practice pretty much on referrals. That's where most of it comes from. Besides
and doing good work helps in that area, right?
I would think so. Yeah,
that's a good secret sauce.
Most of the patients that come to us, they say to me, "Why do you have bad reviews on Yelp when you do such great work?"
Right.
So
competitors don't like us, So yeah, if it's easier for a competitor to set up an anonymous profile and badmouth you to the average consumer, they don't know the difference.
And especially if these review sites aren't as discerning as you'd like them to be, then they're almost encouraging that behavior. Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Semel, it was a pleasure having you on. If somebody wants to learn more about your practice, is there the website again?
It's AtlantaMedicalInstitute.com.
And that's if your specialties are weight loss, anti-aging.
We do wellness or functional medicine, so allergy testing and treatment, food sensitivity studies, vascular heart studies, making sure your arteries and your body are functioning and your veins are functioning properly, just basic overall preventative health care.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for being part of the show.
Thanks for having me.
And Thomas, a website for you guys?
AISmedia.com.
Well, we really appreciate your insight into the digital marketing world, and it's an ever-changing practice, and it's something that businesses have to stay on top of. Hopefully, we can keep this series going.
Always a pleasure.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.